and left it at home. Well, he didn't call to tell her, didn't say, but she saw it. And she knew it was due that day. And she made the tough choice not to drive it to the school. And he found out later that she had seen it, and she knew he didn't have it, and she didn't drive it to the school, and he went ballistic. Well, he ended up getting into West Point. And at the end of his freshman year, he came home, and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but a fourth of our class isn't coming back." And his mother said, "Why? Was there some big scandal?" He said, "No. It seems this is what happens all the time. All their mothers drove their papers to school." Isn't that the loveliest gift? Wasn't that the loveliest gift? He got it. He got it. It's so tempting. I don't mind telling you it's tempting. Have healthy debate. Particularly gifted kids need a safe place to explore ideas. They may say things that are absolutely, totally, and completely off the wall. Let them think it through. Ask them questions. Don't judge. Don't snap. Okay? Let them digest whatever it is that they're trying to think through. Let them try out some radical ideas at your dinner table. You know, let them explore things and ask them questions. It's one of the things they need to do most, and in fairness to the schools, it's the hardest thing for us to be able to address. Because other kids who are their age peers don't usually want to talk about that stuff. You know? After 9/11, it was my gifted kids that I worried about the most. They just fell apart. They were just totally destroyed by it. You know, they get completely engulfed in issues of world hunger, and they feel like they can't do anything about it. And then the second part to that is give them a way to respond. Give them constructive things to be able to do. I have a friend who's a teacher, and she had, at the time, she had a 6-year-old who just finished kindergarten and a 2-year-old. And they decided that they would, you know, I said she's a teacher, right? So we're talking, we live on a budget, right? So they decided they would go to Washington, D.C. for their summer vacation, but they were going to do it on Amtrak and stay at the Days Inn. And that way they wouldn't need a car because Days Inn is right up above, you know, the museums and the mall. So she had talked on and on with her child to prepare. And you know how we teachers do. My boys always said, we never had a vacation. We just took extended field trips. I'm like, yeah, that's right, you know. So she was going to take this field trip to D.C., right? And she'd gotten the boxcar children go to Washington, right? And she'd gotten all the maps of the mall, and she'd gotten all the information about the Smithsonian, and he had already prioritized which museums he wanted to go to in what order. They had the whole thing mapped out. It dawned on her about a week before they were going to go that this child is very sensitive to homelessness when he sees it, especially in downtown Raleigh. So they're riding along the car, and she just mentions to him, hey, by the way, something about D.C. I haven't mentioned yet. And that is that we'll probably see a lot of homeless people. And he said, so what are we going to do about it? And she said, well, we're going to hold hands and stay close together. He said, I ask you, what are we going to do about them? And she said, well, now, honey, think about it. Now, we're just on vacation. And, you know, Daddy and I help the church with the homeless in Raleigh. And there are churches in Washington that help the homeless in Washington. And he said, well, they must not be doing a very good job, or you wouldn't have brought it up. And she said, well, that might be true. But the point is, it's better if the help comes from the church. And to that, he said, well, we sing a song in Sunday school that says, we are the church. Well, maybe so. But the point is, it's a vacation, and we're going on Amtrak, and it's a little hotel room, so we really can't take the homeless in. And he said, I want to think about this a while. She was like, oh, Lord help us, let's just not go. You know what I mean? Really? At some point, you just want to go, it's not worth it. So he let it go for a couple of days, and he came to her and he said, I've been thinking about the thing with the homeless. Oh. He said, you told me you got nabs at Sam's. Y'all know what peanut butter crackers? Are we on board? You have to be a Southerner. Sometimes, you know, it's a mixed crowd. You never know. And So he said, you told me you got 2 big cases of NABs and we were going to only take one with us and save the other one for the rest of the summer. But I started thinking, if they're homeless in Washington in the summer and they sleep on the streets, they can live. But if they have no food, they could die. So why don't we take the other case of NABs with us, and then when we see homeless people, we can just give them a pack. Bingo. Do you see how powerful that is? Do you see that a 6-year-old can do it? So this is what their 4 days in D.C. were like. They called it their Nabs for Jesus campaign. They said everywhere they went, this child would go over, they'd see somebody, you know, on the street, or somebody come up kind of drooling and say, you know, you got $1 for, he said, no sir, but I tell you what, I brought you some Nabs. And he'd go over, and every morning he would take out about half the diapers, because he doesn't need those. And he would pack up the Nabs in the top of the diaper bag like that. And so every time they saw somebody, he'd go and get Nabs out and hand them to, he would see musicians, sometimes even child musicians on the side with a little pot. He just put some little Nabs in as his tip. Is that powerful? And every single time, people were to tears. Every single time they said, God bless you, because what they realized was, this wasn't some kid with a guilty conscience. This is somebody that came to D.C. to feed the poor. He came with the Nabs. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's the thing. You think, well, they're 6 years old. What could they do? You'd be surprised. So think of ways to allow them to respond to worries and concerns that they have about the universe, okay? Take a quick minute and turn to your neighbor and just talk. We'll take 30 seconds about a concern your child has had sometime in their life that's been a deep-seated concern that you needed to address. Go. Okay, think about how to respond to that concern in a way that they can do at their age. Question their logic. Push them on arguments and discussions. Don't let them just get by with whatever they think off the top of their head being acceptable. Question. Question. You know, this kid says, my history teacher is ridiculous. He expects us to remember all this random stuff from a long time ago. I mean, why can't he just teach us history like he's supposed to? But don't question my logic, Bob. Just say poor baby, right? Right? At some point, that's kind of what they want, is just a lot of poor baby. And you know what? That's not going to get them anywhere. Because I'll tell you this from experience. With 2 off in college, nobody's standing around them going, poor baby. Nobody. Nobody. Once they are out from under your roof, there is nobody that's going to sit around saying, poor baby. Okay? This is probably the one thing I most want you to get out of today. If I could change one thing for you, this would be it. And it's a profound change. It's huge. It's subtle, but it's huge. Out of all of our populations, who do you think gets the most praise? Our struggling learners or our high-end learners? If praise is given for this, praise is focused on external control and evaluation. I am proud of you. You have pleased me. You have done what you're supposed to do. You have learned what you're supposed to learn. If praise is given for rewards completed, well done, making hundreds, making A's. You get that? Who makes the most hundreds? Who makes the most A's? It focuses on self in comparison to others and personal gain. If you made a 95, what did so-and-so make? What did other people in your class make? Are you getting the best grades in the class? Are you at the top of that class? That's what praise does. If you're giving honest praise, it should go most to the high-end learners, right? So in our homes, when we've got kids that really do get a lot right, they really do know a lot, it's so tempting, isn't it? It's so tempting to put the emphasis on praise. And it sounds like this, oh my gosh, you are so smart. I just can't believe the things you do. We're coming back to that number one in terms of gifted, aren't we? There's something very